On the scheduled tip-off for the final game in this last one, we have Davidson taking on Charleston, the hometown team here, 3-0 against 2-1 Charleston. 7 o'clock on ESPNU is where this nightcap's going to be. When you think of Davidson, if you've paid attention to NBA for the past decade and a half, you always think about Curry, right? Well, this team is a lot better than I wouldn't say a lot better as the past, but this team is a lot more than just the historic of Steph Curry, if you will. I mean, Foster Loyer has done some fantastic things with this squad, almost averaging 30 points per game. Shooting almost 50% from the field. Davidson looks really good. And, we are talking one of the conferences that you and I really like to follow is the Atlantic 10. I grew up in Western New York, so I'm a St. Bonaventure fan. You love Duquesne. We both thought St. Louis was going to be a front runner in this conference. And obviously Dayton is ranked, even though they did already get a loss this season. But Davidson, I don't think is going to go away anytime soon. We had them ranked pretty low in our preseason rankings. I think that might be one that we get laughed at once the season's over, Steve.
I agree. And the more I dug into that, I guess I put more into the coaching change than perhaps I should have. But what I found really interesting is that Matt McCullough, picking up for his dad, Bob, he's a big analytics guy. So he stresses like KenPom ratings and efficiency markers, things like that. He's not afraid to have his team shoot threes. He's not afraid to incorporate some of the analytical strategies into how he wants this team to play. It certainly would be a huge change from what his dad, Bob, did. But I think that's a good thing for Davidson. Davidson has some great athletes. I mean, I think they're hitting at 46 or 47% from downtown. They're shooting 86% from the free throw line. So some of these fundamentals that KenPom actually sort of brings to the forefront more. That's the one thing I will say about KenPom ratings is I think they take fundamental skills and they kind of shine a spotlight on them a little bit more than a typical box score would. So this could be a really interesting approach for Davidson as they attack the A-10 schedule. They have to attack College of Charleston first,
right?
Mind you, and College of Charleston, and I'll let you get your points in on College of Charleston in a second. The thing that amazes me about this school is that in the summer of 2021, they literally had 2 scholarship players. They had lost so many players to graduation and through the transfer portal. They had 2 scholarship players.
Wow.
Yet somehow, Pat Kelsey put together a team. They won 17 games. They really had UNC Wilmington on the ropes in the conference tournament, and again, the Colonials doesn't have, top 20, a lot of top 25 teams sprinkled in, but it's a very competitive conference top to bottom. So I think that all of their freshmen that got their experience, especially the freshman guards, I think that is going to pay huge dividends for College of Charleston. Keep an eye on Ben Burnham. He is a human highlight reel guy. He really is. And he had a coming out party against North Carolina last year that was really impressive. In fact, he was even on ESPN. Yeah, he had 2 of his dunks against North Carolina when they played last year were on the ESPN top 10 plays of the week. So he's a special player.
Yeah, and when you think of this Charleston squad, I know they're 2-1, but you might as well act as this is 2 teams of unbeaten, because the loss that Charleston had was to number 1 overall North Carolina, 102-86. They had a great game against Chattanooga, tournament team last year. They won in overtime against Richmond, and we know Richmond's a good team, another Atlantic 10. Well, now can they get another victory against another Atlantic 10 team who's on the rise in Davidson? I think that this is going to be a really close game. Vegas thinks so as well. They're only given a 1-point favorite to the College of Charleston. Davidson, though, when I look at this squad with Davidson, and I look at really the biggest thing that I'm looking at right off the bat is Loyer, and I see that points per game at almost 30, and I'm like, wow, he must have all the offensive production. No, not at all.
No.
There are
Yeah.
still 3 other players who are averaging double digits for this team. This Davidson team can score. They have offense production and they have more rebounds per game than Charleston does. And that's the 2 things that I really pay attention to initially before I really dive deep into who I think can win this game. But just seeing how much of offensive production we've seen from Davidson so far this season, with that win against VMI, that huge double overtime win against Wright State. You really want to get a good idea of this Davidson team, go watch that game against Wright State. That was the game that really shows their true identity. I think we're going to get a more taste of that in this game. I think we're going to be a lot closer to one of those Davidson Wright State games. And this one, I think it's going to be very close. Wouldn't be surprised if the nightcap goes to overtime. I think this is close, but I'm going to lean towards Davidson. I know that's bad juju to do against the hometown team, but Davidson just looks really good. You think Colorado State can be the team that can run this whole tournament? I think it's Davidson.
And again, a terrific observation with Davidson. I think I'm looking at this game a little more sentimentally. And as those of you that have watched a lot of our clips throughout the basketball season so far will know, we're not X and O guys. And I mean, Christian, you're a lot more versed in the Ken Palm ratings than I am. But there are 2 guys on College of Charleston from West Liberty State, which is a Division II powerhouse that plays, probably 20, 30 minutes here from where I live here in Pittsburgh. Dalton Bolin had a great second game of the season, put up 16 points. He is a hard-nosed guard, tough defender. You just hate to play against him because you're either going to be exhausted or you're going to be black and blue at the end of the day. And his West Liberty teammate, Pat Robinson III, has transferred in as a 5th-year graduate student. Yeah, he was an Division II All-American at West Liberty State. He scored well over 2,000 points. He's actually the 6th man so far, but I'd imagine he's going to eventually get starters minutes. But even as a 6th man, he's averaging in double figures. So for me, it's another joy to watch these 2 guys play at another step level. So I'm going to go sentimentally with College of Charleston. But you're right on, Christian. Davidson, if it's not Colorado State, it's probably going to be Davidson. As much as I like Virginia Tech, I think it's either going to be Davidson or it's going to be Colorado State.
Speaking of those transfers, they are 2nd and 3rd on the team in scoring, only behind Ryan Smith, the 2nd-year player that's been with Charlotte for both years, who's averaging 18.7 points a game. This nightcap is scheduled for 7 p.m. tip-off on Thursday night. That'll round out the Shriners Classic for the first round. We will see the winners bracket on Friday. We'll see how that goes. It should be an interesting game, interesting tournament throughout the weekend. I'm looking forward to paying attention to this one. I'm going to be pretty glued to this one. It's right off the bat, starting in the early morning. Steve, I know you are too. We've even moved some of our recording so we can get that figured out.
Yes.
So yeah, really looking forward to that one. Again, catch the Shriners Children's Charleston Classic on Thursday all day. It's a great program. It's for a great charity, and it's going to be some good basketball.